Hey there, everybody. New studio, new intro. I'm just here to remind you guys before you listen to today's episode, make sure you follow the show and subscribe wherever you listen. If you watch the show on YouTube, make sure you subscribe there, you comment, you like, and you share. Also, follow my social media, all of it, both Instagrams, my Twitter, follow it all. Your life is to be consumed by my life. Tell everybody that you know about me. Start conversations with the fact that the Smoking Simian is your favorite podcast. Bombard everyone that you know and love with the Smoking Simian. Send them links day in and day out of my show, of the episodes, of my posts. Get thrown out of your house because the only thing that you care about is the Smoking Simian. Do it. Enjoy today's episode. Bye-bye. Hey, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning in today. It is post 420. The one holiday where if you're a grown person, you can absolutely lose your mind, right? I mean, you've probably already lost your mind if you're a grown person who still loves 420. Like, by this point in time, I'm 24 years old. If you're around this age and you still do anything that's special regarding 420, unless, and this is hard to find, unless you're one of the few people who doesn't smoke weed in my generation, or in the world, right? Because now weed is just, it's cool as fuck. Everybody does it. Everybody's got weed. People's parents smoking weed, asking their kids to get them weed. That's great. This is phenomenal. I've said this on here before, I don't think it is anybody's business what we put in our bodies. I don't think it is at all, especially not the government's, right? Nobody gets on gays anymore, and they put things in their body, right? For a while, it was illegal to get married as a gay. I don't know if it was, I mean, it was obviously because people didn't agree with it, right? Which, of course, if you don't agree with something, just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. It won't exist anymore. If you don't agree with something, just get rid of it. You'll be A-okay, right? That's the way to do it. No people, no problem. I heard that somewhere. No person, no problem. We'll alienate him. We'll get him the fuck out of there. And then years and years later, now anybody can get married, which is the motherfucking way it should be. But it's the same thing. Government shouldn't have anything to say about what is in a person's... Ooh, my beef jerky is beeping. I apologize for that, everybody. But yes, I am making beef jerky because I am trying to subsist. I am currently attempting to subsist on this planet solely to be a comedian. Which is funny because I heard that on a podcast one time. And you really do. You really start to realize what it is that is important at your current moment. Right? Whenever you're thrown into a situation that maybe you weren't expecting, or it was a lot more than you were expecting. Maybe it's something you don't even want to do, but you know it's for a greater purpose. Then you take whatever happens to you. You know what I'm saying? You can deal. A man with a Y can deal with any how, and if that means I have to cut up little pieces of beef and marinate them, and then throw them in an air fryer for 2 hours. In hopes that I will have a delicious and healthy snack on the other end, then I will fucking do it. Because scant times meaning low money, teach a lot. Teach a lot about yourself. Teach you what you need. One thing that I like to have is weed, right? We're talking about weed, and it's cool as fuck. One thing I like to have is marijuana, but I know that it's not what I need. Although sometimes I do need that shit, right? I mean, let's be real. I'm sure a lot of you guys on here smoke. We are the smoking motherfucking Simian. We're known to get high on this bitch from time to time. And it's easy to get wrapped up in a culture, especially one that has become so fun and so publicized as marijuana, because for years and years it was demonized, right? You could get years and years in jail. Thank you, Kamala Harris. Years and years in jail for small amounts of weed. I always talk about in the movie once, nope, not that one. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, one of my favorite movies ever. Right after right after Hunter S. Thompson is done describing his drug suitcase in the trunk, they drive past a big billboard that says 20 to life if caught with marijuana in Las Vegas or something like that. It's a big billboard, which is crazy. There's motherfuckers that are still in there. God forbid they get word that people can go to a store and buy weed. You know, God forbid that, because then there's no hope of them getting out, right? They're just going to start murdering. You mean to tell me I went to jail? I've been in jail for 30 years because I had a bag of weed on me in 1973, and now you can go to a store. There's guys my age, there's old motherfuckers going into store asking young fucking low-eyed, red-eyed kids what they should buy, what's the best weed, what I got anxiety, I can't sleep. Now there's a fucking science, there's a whole industry based on some shit that was illegal at one point. You'd start killing. You would start killing. If you were in jail from 1973 until now because of some weed, and you found out that your cousin is on the outside fucking getting all kinds of weed, the best weed you've ever had. The weed that was around in 1973 is basically dog shit compared to what we have now. It is. There's older people who go and they want to smoke weed, and they haven't since they were kids because they were led to believe that if you smoke weed past your fucking 20s or whatever the fuck, you're going to be a scumbag, and all the propaganda that was spewed onto that generation. A generation, mind you, that absolutely deserved it. I am very happy that they didn't get to live most of their life with weed because I'm talking about boomers here, they ruined the planet for the coming generations, especially mine. My generation has a very heightened sense of anxiety. We're very cynical. Yes, that has to do with social media, but it also has to do with the condition that the fucking planet is in, right? I talk about it all the time. War, all right, whatever. That's a common thing. Poverty, yes. Let's talk about living situations. Let's talk about jobs. Let's talk about ability to... Jesus fucking Christ. I'm going to break this goddamn thing. It's a bomb, really, guys. It's actually a bomb, and if it doesn't explode soon, then it's a dud, and I'm bringing it back to the guys who sold it to me. Because I'm hoping to blow this whole room to smithereens, and I won't have to do any of this shit. I won't have to come on here and talk to you motherfuckers about nothing for an hour at a time. I won't have to do it because there'll be shrapnel, there'll be pieces of shit in my face. You know what I'm saying? I'll be good. I'll be A-okay. But what the fuck was I talking about? Weed. The generation that is now taking advantage of the legalized plant are the boomers. They are. I mean, we are as well, right? But we were already kind of brought up in a more lax time, where you'd get pulled over if you had a little weed on you. You were in high school, which happened to us all the fucking time. I used to tell people I was getting pulled over every week, and that's no goddamn lie. Pulled over every week. I've had to stomp out my weed in front of police officers, give them my weed, just get berated and bothered. And I'll get into some of those 420 stories and weed stories in just a minute, because I know they're a lot of fun. But the boomers are a generation that completely depleted the planet of opportunity. The environment is fucked, right? They made off very good. They had all the opportunity in the world. They got to go to good schools for a good price. They got to live for a good price for a while. They were able to make money and provide for themselves. And most importantly, they believed in the facade that has been fed to us, right? The dream, the go to school, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and work and all that shit. So they think that fucking 40 years later, 30 years later, we can, that same shit applies, right? Even longer than that, 50 years later. They think that same shit applies. Oh, come on, we did this. Yeah, well, you had an opportunity to go work at a plant, and for whatever reason, motherfuckers were happy with that in those days. I could work at a plant. I don't know. I dropped out of high school at 16, and I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm going to deplete the resources of the planet, and then when I get old, I'm going to bitch and complain at all the young people who don't want to do the same shit that I did, but it's not even necessarily that. It's more the fact that we can't. You know, there's the price of living is astronomical for a person of my age right now. And then how completely disproportionate it is to opportunities to make a living, right? So a lot of that doing was from that generation, that boomer generation of, work really hard and save a whole bunch of money, wait till the end of your life to start living it. And also, once you get to that point, make sure you complain a lot, right? They do a lot of that. And now they get to smoke weed. But another thing that they have to face is the cold reality that their entire life they followed the dream, they followed the path. And yes, they may have had fun along the way, but now that they're older, now they're smoking all this weed and they're probably realizing, hey, I could have done some other shit. Right? I could have went ahead and been a person who, makes pottery, makes clay ashtrays. Right? That was always my dream. I made a clay ashtray in the 7th grade, right? Because in those days, you could smoke, you could do whatever you want. There were ashtrays in the desks. I made a clay ashtray in the 7th grade, and I knew that was my favorite thing, and I was obsessed with making ashtrays until the 9th grade. 2 years working hard, and then I said, fuck it. I said, fuck that. I'm going to go work in the automotive industry, which will never, ever die. I'm going to go work in a factory that builds cars. I'm going to move to Detroit. That is an industry that will never, ever die, and I will be okay. And you do that. You work out, and there's no weed because the laws are strict. The laws are draconian. You do not want to get bagged for a little bit of weed. Right, especially knowing that it's weed, it's not that bad. And maybe you dabble a little bit when you're young, and then you say, well, that's a young man's game. Nah, no more marijuana for me. I'll just drink. That'll be fine. I'll drink anytime I'm upset, and instead of opening my mind, I'll shut it. I'll close the motherfucker. It's funny how they choose to demonize certain types of drugs. Now, here's something I bet you guys didn't know. 420, obviously, the weed day. This is 421 for you guys, but 419, the day before that, is actually Bicycle Day. Some of you guys might know what I'm talking about, but for those of you who do not, Bicycle Day was April 19th, 1943, where a Swiss chemist, I have his name written down. What is it? Albert Hoffman. Thank you, Mr. Albert Hoffman. He was the guy he was a chemist, and he decided to fuck around with some chemicals and create LSD. That's right. He is the first man to create LSD. And it's called Bike Day because he drank some of it, and he had to ride home. He had to ride his bicycle home because at the time there was a war. Right, the little old World War II, right? Just a small one they talk about. And there was gas, like you couldn't buy gas, right? And he was in Switzerland, so in Europe. Far worse conditions than here in the U.S. Yes, of course, people had to go to work. Women had to work in factories, 18 hours a day, making guns and rations and all this shit. Yes, tough. But at least, you're not walking to school through buildings with monstrous holes in them. There's not shell casings on the ground when you're going to the grocery store, And not saying that that's what it was like in Switzerland, but they were a lot closer, right? Much closer. They speak German in Switzerland, put it that way. And French. So, hey. But anyway, this motherfucker started riding his bike, and he started feeling incredibly different. I remember reading there were feelings of wanting to laugh. These were in his journals. He had feelings of wanting to laugh. He had hallucinations, anxiety, all these different feelings. And it was the first time. Imagine being the first person to trip Imagine being the first person to trip at all, right, on anything. They say that, obviously, there's the famous stoned ape theory made famous by Terrence McKenna, but even more so by Joe Rogan, where apes ate some psilocybin-filled mushrooms, and it opened their minds, and it caused them to start cooking their food, which led to our evolution. Interesting, right? Very interesting. So, but that is a theory that is explaining evolution. So this was obviously millions and millions, well, I don't know about millions, but thousands and thousands of years ago, right? And that human is very different, or that being, that animal is very different than a person in 1943. Where we are now, we are much more closely related to the guy in 1943. Obviously, not all of us, right? Not all of us. Not people who watch, like, daytime television or, do stupid fucking things, You know my point, right? But we are much closer to that guy. So that's like doing something for the first time in the modern world. And this is a drug. This guy found a chemical composition that induced a different psychoactive state. One that before that time, people probably didn't know how to get to that state, right? People weren't super well versed in 1943. I would probably assume people were not very well versed in the world of psychedelics. Marijuana was still looked at as, at that time, Jesus, nobody fucked with that, right? 1943, it was the jazz musicians that were doing that. Heroin, morphine, these were the more popular drugs, right? I don't know if in 1943 they had the cocaine drops for your teeth, right? I don't know if they had that. It could have been. Funny story, my grandmother told me some shit about when she was younger. And they gave her some medicine that she thought might have been. She said cocaine. She said it so funny. She said it like a Mexican, right? Cocaine. But she's old as fuck, so who knows, man? Back in those days, they probably did still have that stuff, medicinal products with cocaine in it. And then it eventually became illegal, right? Because we don't have our own. We got to get the best shit from somewhere else, just like Chris Rock said. Chris Rock had a really famous joke where it's like, if we had the best weed and cocaine in America, it would be available everywhere, right? And that's a good point. But nonetheless, this guy unlocked a substance that had the potential to change the way people saw things, change the way people thought about things, right? He made it so the way he spoke about it in his journal, it was almost like he unlocked a new portion of his brain, which could be true. It might not be a new portion of the brain. It might just be a part of the brain that was dormant. Because something I learned recently is that I haven't learned this recently, but DMT, obviously, it's something that our brain releases when we die, right? Or when our body thinks we're dying. It releases that shit. So, you could probably imagine in your final moments, you just start tripping balls, right? And a lot of those psychedelic drugs have a similar chemical makeup to the same neurochemistry that we have, right? Different inhibitors and neurotransmitters and all that shit. It's supposedly they're similar. And this guy in 1943 found a way to get to that area, right? And then he saw it as a way. Now, this is a long fucking time ago, guys. He saw it back then to have psychiatric potential, right? He labeled it as a possible psychiatric medicine. And now, the reason I bring that up now and why it's so interesting is because nowadays, a lot of these hallucinogens are being used for that. And it took years and years. 1943, 2003, that's 60 years. We're almost 80 years later. And finally, people are giving this guy his due, right? This guy found something that opens the mind, which led to it being deemed illegal, just like marijuana. Imagine that. Imagine that. Marijuana, LSD, mush, psilocybin, all demonized, all turned, into this substance that if you use, you are gonna be led down the wrong path, right? That the people who make that legislation are probably motherfuckers who never tripped, or they tripped and had a bad experience, and now they've got to ruin it for everybody. Yes, these drugs aren't for everyone. Of course not. But neither are the pharmaceutical drugs. Neither are the drugs that are supposed to help you with depression, and they end up worsening certain symptoms, right? How often does the FDA pull drugs off the market? All the time. All the time, right? I heard Chantix is the most recent one. I heard that on the Bill Maher, Joe Rogan. But I used to remember watching commercials for Chantix. Supposedly, there is a bit of information that is suggesting that that drug could cause cancer, which is interesting because it's a drug that's supposed to help you stop smoking. Why do you want to stop smoking? To stop cancer. So the fact that it's just like on the news. If you were a person who took this drug from 2007 to 2017, you may be liable for compensation. Yeah, because a lot of this shit, guys, is, yes, I do have faith in science, and I have faith in the clinical process and the research process, the scientific process, all that shit. Shit needs to be peer-reviewed, tested, all that stuff. But I mean, sometimes motherfuckers are just guessing. Incredibly educated guesses. I'm not saying that these guys are just making a drug, throwing it out there and saying, hey, good luck. Might cause you to kill yourself. You got foot pain? Take this. Might cause you to want to hang yourself. Might cause you to want to stab hot fucking scissors into your eyeballs. It might. Okay? But I'm sure that some of them know that there are some side effects that aren't ideal, and they still put it out. This might cause gout. Okay. You can't really die from gout in this day and age. Let's put it out there. Let's see what people think. Wait, what's your problem? Your back? Okay. Take this, and you might get necrosis. You might lose a couple toes. But, hey, a lot of people would rather have no back pain than all their toes. That's just what it is. People will take that risk. And it's just interesting that, a drug like marijuana, people don't go and kill themselves. People don't. Yes, not every experience is a positive experience, right? There's been plenty of times where I've smoked too much and I feel terrible. Anxiety still to this day. Before a little more prominent, but still to this motherfucking day. I mean, there's times I get too high and it's not good. It's not a good time. But there's never a moment where I'm like, there's a murderous side effect. Yeah, coughing, maybe your memory isn't super sharp. Okay, again, there's people, risk, reward. That's not that bad. My memory, sure, it's been affected, but I don't think it's, I'm not a 25-year-old with an 85-year-old memory. It's not that fucking bad. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, my lungs, sure. Coughing, all right. That's fine, but at least it's not cigarettes, right? At least I'm not smoking the fuck out of cigarettes. At least I'm not deathly addicted to cigarettes. However, I do roll my weed in backwoods, a lot of nicotine, tobacco. My personal preference, not good, right? Not good. But, I mean, the good outweighs the bad with a lot of these psychedelic drugs. You know what I'm saying? If I'm being honest. And I've only smoked weed and I've done mushrooms. And I have nothing but good things to say about both. I feel like everybody has a dependency on something, whether that's drinking your coffee in the morning or having a Diet Coke once a day or with your meals. sleep. Everybody's got a dependency on something. And if I can choose what it is, I'd rather that be the case. I'd rather that be the case. Like if I broke my knee and I needed to take oxys, I would have some apprehension. I would have some apprehension. I would much rather just get stoned, smoke hella weed all day, and hopefully put the pain to the back of my mind. I wouldn't want to take something that could give me problems elsewhere, right? A lot of those medicines, they got to get filtered through your kidneys. So if you're taking all these kind of pharmaceuticals, you're probably fucking up your kidneys too. You know what I'm saying? So it is weird, right? It is weird. And the fact that this guy, this scientist, created this drug and had nothing but good things to say about it, nothing but good things, they looked at it as a threat. Whoever they is, right? Governments in 1960. So here, I think this is interesting, right? While he worried about its abuse potential, which, I mean, I guess anybody that creates a drug would probably have a little, this probably runs through their mind, right? This shit makes you feel really good. Watch out, right? He said, it gave me an inner joy, an open-mindedness, a gratefulness, open eyes, and an internal sensitivity for the miracles of creation. Do you think when Martin Shkreli started charging 400 times or whatever the fucking number was, the amount that it cost to make that HIV medication, do you think that whoever paid for it and got it and took the medicine, do you think that they had anything like that to say? I mean, really, right? Is there any medication, even pharmaceuticals, antidepressants, right, SSRIs, Zoloft and Nexium, right? These things that are supposed to make us feel that way. They're supposed to open our eyes and give us an internal sensitivity for the miracles of creation. But they don't. That's the thing. They just work as a Band-Aid. Right? And it's crazy. It is crazy that a government is so worried about what its citizens may learn or may achieve or could unlock about themselves, about their brains, that they would go ahead and ban a substance that was described by giving inner joy and open-mindedness. That should be given to every person. Every person. Every person walking the earth should take something that gives them that. Yes, it could be abused. But from what I hear and what I think I agree with, because I can attest to it with mushrooms, it's pretty self-regulating. Right? And I have no experience taking acid, but as far as mushrooms go, as far as marijuana goes, you know when enough is enough. You know when it's time to say, all right, I'm good. I got what I needed out of that. Whether it was had fun, whether it was dealt with something, unlocked a new fucking thought process, you were able to create something on it, you got something done, and that's good, right? I think those are the drugs that probably are the best for you. The things that have yes, you can have fun, right? There's a lot of drugs that are out there just to have fun, right? Alcohol. There's no positive to it other than the fact that you have fun. Everything else is negative, right? Smoking cigarettes. It's a fucking anxiety thing, a social thing, oral fixation, whatever, right? But there's no positives to it. Right? I mean, I'm sure, like, you got a guy like F. Scott Fitzgerald, who is an alcoholic, and he wrote some of the greatest American novels ever written. Great Gatsby. There's other ones, I don't fucking know. But he was an alkie, right? And there's been plenty of artists who are alkies. But some of the best artistry comes, or I should say, some of the best artistry came from a generation where the artists, a lot of the socially conscious artists, were on these hallucinogens. They were on drugs. They were on these self-regulating self-analyzing substances, right? These substances that laid out everything in front of them and told them something, right? Told them something that they were able to then convey to us through a song, through a movie, through a performance, right? Something like that. And they were able to get it to us. Interesting, very interesting that they went ahead. And now, so many years later, it is being treated as something that helps people with mental illness. I've spoken about it before on here when I had Professor Walish. We spoke a fair amount about it. And drugs like acid and psilocybin, ketamine, and what's the last one? MDMA, they're all being used. And here's the thing, something that he had mentioned to me, which was a great point. Just because there's success and they're being used in a way where there's a positive outcome doesn't necessarily mean that the experience, the psychedelic experience, is what's doing it, right? Like when they're giving the MDMA to the veterans, right, where there's been a good sample size, they're seeing that it's positively affecting veterans that suffer from PTSD. Some are calling it a cure. Professor Walish called it a cure, and I'd like to agree with that. I would like to agree with that. And but those people may not necessarily be getting a dose of MDMA, which for those of you that don't know is Molly, right? The drug that everyone takes and goes wild at raves. They might not be taking an amount that someone at a rave would take, or someone that's trying to have a fun night or whatever. So it might not be linked to the actual psychedelic experience. The positivity aspect, this cure, it might not even be linked to that, which is where some of the studies are heading. And it's just fascinating stuff. It really is. The shit's interesting to me. But you can very much get wrapped up in the culture of a lot of this stuff, right? You start wearing, shit. Some people may say I'm in that boat, right? Where you get wrapped up in the culture of marijuana or psychedelics or that type of thing. I love Hunter S. Thompson. I like freaky fucking art. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at this thing down here that I can't wait to hang up. I bought it specifically for people to trip if that happens, right? Oh, man, this thing still hasn't blown up, huh? Give me 2 seconds. I gotta unplug this motherfucker. Piece of shit. Okay, I apologize for the sounds the mic probably made as I was picking it up and putting it down. But, yeah, I have this picture here that I can't wait to put up because I want whoever's looking at it to trip balls. That's what the fuck I bought it for. It looks cool. But I don't go super deep like I once used to do, like Mac Miller. But here's the thing, right, is it's cool. It is cool as fuck to be a person who is enlightened and they got it through a psychedelic medium. It is cool because you kind of come out on the other end a bit of a different person, but a person with less worries, maybe. I think that's the way to put it. A person who, through my mushroom experiences, I realized what I really wanted to be in life was a comedian. If I'm being honest, right? You could be a trip away from realizing your true potential in this fucking world. That would be the side effect if there was an LSD commercial. Yes, take LSD. Warning, you might find your true potential as a human being. You might realize that the job you've been working for 20 years is absolute fucking bullshit. And that the only reason you do it is to chase a lifestyle that was forced upon us as humans. And that all you're doing is putting yourself in the machine as a cog. And you are, that's what the fuck it is. That's what would be an LSD commercial. All right. Side effects include you realizing that you are not the most important thing in the fucking in the whole universe, and that the universe expands forever and ever and ever, and your fear of death is based in a desire to preserve life, which in reality doesn't exist, right? The preservation of life does not exist because life doesn't fucking end, right? And this is a pretty long goddamn commercial. But no, 420 is a day where people can go all out. They wear the weed socks, especially when you're in high school, man. Part of why I wanted to talk about 420 was some of the fun stories. I remember, I think it was my first 420. Me, Chris Sandberg, who's been on the show a couple times, Nick Sandberg, who was on the 100th episode. We bought an eighth, which was a lot of weed for us at that time. We bought it from a guy who was friends with their older brother, and we would go to him pretty often. And we opened the thing up. It was a fucking notebook paper. We opened it up, and it was a big long branch, big as this fucking microphone, big long branch. And I remember opening up and going, "Damn!" And we all like, "Oh shit." So back in those days, we used to just ride around and smoke. We'd pack the car out. We'd ride around. We'd go to a park, and there was a park in our town called Naughty Park, Governor Naughty Park. So blowing up the spot for everybody. But yeah, it's Governor Naughty Park is where people go to smoke weed, especially if they're underage. But listen, we would go there, and so this night, that's exactly what we did. And sometimes we kind of disregarded the fact that there's a curfew in the park. You can't be out there, especially when we started driving. And we were in my car, so I remember we were there, and we smoked. We went out and walked around the park. Had a good time, fucked around, and we knew that it was 420, so we got the weed to finish it all that day. So we went back to the car, and I started rolling another one, and nobody's paying attention, right? We're super stoned. We're still in high school, so weed hits you like a motherfucker then. And we were in the parking lot, and I was rolling weed, and Chris is sitting to my right, and he looks up, all stoned, and goes, "Whoa, I think somebody's here." And a police officer is about fucking 10 feet from my car with his lights just beaming on us. Bajoing! And I got a thing of weed on my lap with an opened up Dutch, and I just threw it. I said, "Shoosh," threw it right on Chris's lap. She cut the lights off, and we drove out of there. The cop didn't even follow us. Do you believe that? Cop didn't even follow us, man. Back in those days, it was brutal. That was probably after the time I got pulled over by the Stadies over in Lincoln, Rhode Island, and I got viciously questioned in the back of my fucking car. Cop asked me to put my hands on my trunk and everything, and just started bombarding me with questions. And he wanted me to tell him something that wasn't true. He wanted me to say that we were smoking in Lincoln Woods, and we weren't. We had smoked hours before, and we were in the area waiting to pick up Chris, who worked in the area, and we didn't have any, nothing to do for an hour, so we were driving around. We drove through Lincoln Woods, so this guy was just bothering the fuck out of me. And after that experience, I was nervous as fuck all the time about weed and all that stuff, and it didn't stop me from getting, pulled over. And luckily, we were in a time where weed started to be... I remember when it first got decriminalized. I think I was in high school. I could be wrong, but I was young, right? And we were like, yes, can't get in trouble. We're that much closer, right? Another fun 420 story. Actually, let me finish that other one. We drove off, and we got back to my crib, and Chris looks at me, he's like, "Well, I still want to smoke another one." He was super heated because I threw weed all over him. Made a mess, wasted a bunch of weed, and he's like, "We want to smoke another one." So we did that, and then that was it. Back in those days, we could hang out at my house because my parents would be upstairs watching TV, or my mom would be asleep, and my dad was upstairs, and we could just go for walks late at night, get stoned, and have a good time. Get real high, and then we were able to chill in the basement, play video games, watch TV, whatever the fuck it was. And those were some of my highest times, man. I remember in those days, we would definitely hallucinate off weed. Definitely. Filming yourself, looking what the fuck's going on. Like, I heard, right, and this is another Terrence McKenna thing, also gotten from Joe Rogan. I steal shit. No. It's just something interesting where he mentioned that a good way to use weed is take like a month off and then get obliterated the next time. Take as much as you can and use it as an actual hallucination. Because I'm sure you remember when you were a kid and the first time you smoked weed, it was fucking weird. It was different. It was completely different from any other experience you've had in life. I remember my first time getting really, really high and shit was glitching. Like, life was glitching. Things were unnecessarily funny. Hallucination, the distortion of the world around me. It was a real fucking thing, guys. It was a real thing, and I know you guys agree. I know you do. Nobody gets as high as they did when they first started smoking, and especially if you started smoking when you were younger, because you had to space it out, right? You were still nervous about, I don't know if I should smoke weed all the time, but it is fun, so we'll smoke, and once a month, twice a month, something like that. But we don't do that. We become casual users, which is, hey, that's what the fuck it is, right? We don't use weed as a psychedelic, a potent psychedelic, which at its core, it's technically a psychedelic. The way it works is the same as mushrooms or acid or any of that stuff. You take it in your mind. It doesn't work like other drugs, like alcohol. I refer back to alcohol because I don't have a huge drug repertoire. I've done mushrooms, smoked weed, smoked cigars, drank alcohol. That's pretty much it. That's all I've ever done. I didn't even take Vicodins when I tore my labrum because I'm a bad motherfucker. But that, we become accustomed to it. But the experience is completely different from anything else, right? Just like, it's just the first time doing it. The first time you drink alcohol, it's like nothing else you've ever experienced. And you're goofy, you have inhibitions are a little loosened, whereas marijuana, it hits people a little differently. I remember my dad told me there's like 3 or 4 different kinds of drunk because he had a PhD in drinking, triple fucking PhD in drinking for the time that he had put in. And he's like, there's a few different kinds of drunk. There's a happy, laughy guy, right? Makes fun of everything. Everything's funny, whatever. Some people get stiff, right? They get stiff. They get quiet. There's people who get angry. They're on edge. They're ready to fucking flash out. They get drunk and all they need is half a reason to cause a scene. So there's the same thing with weed, right? But here's the thing: is different. It is weird, right? Because there's different kinds of each drug. You could get a weed that makes you couch-ridden or bed-ridden. Bed-ridden doesn't sound good. It sounds like you're sick. But couch-ridden, right? You got couch lock. You just want to sit there. Some weed makes you creative. Some weed makes you want to get up, gives you energy. Some weed gives you anxiety. It could also be what's going on throughout the day. But it is completely different than, especially the first time you do it. It's completely different than anything you've ever experienced. And after a while, you experience it. It is what the fuck it is. You become a habitual user like moi, like a lot of you motherfuckers that are listening. So don't judge. God damn it, don't judge. I know you motherfuckers got your weed hangovers today. That's a good thing. I am 100% behind the plant. I am. I have no problem. Even if one day I get to a point where I don't smoke at all or it's very rare, I have zero bad things to say about weed. I do. I really do. I mean, yes, it can make you lazy, I suppose, if you're already a lazy fucking person. It could enhance that. Anything can do anything, right? Anything could do anything. But I'm pro weed 1,000% of the way, and I hope it becomes federally legal at some point. Again, this brings me back to my initial point. I don't think any drug should be illegal. If we are allowed to watch commercials day and night about drugs that could someday cause diseases in us, or could that same day cause diseases in us, unwanted fucking, we're trying to get rid of one thing and we're getting hit with something else. So That is, if we can be consumed by that, if we can watch commercials selling us shit that we barely know what the fuck does, but gives us some kind of false hope, if we could do that, then we should be able to do any fucking thing else. We should. We should be able to do anything else. And that's what the fuck I think. I do. I really do. The countries where drugs aren't illegal, I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I could imagine that drug problems are lowered, right? People are getting, if you can get the right shit, the pure shit, whatever it is that you do, and you're able to do it in a controlled manner, I guess. It's really when it comes to abuse, whatever you're abusing is bad, you know? If you're using something in an unhealthy way, doesn't matter the benefits it gives you. But, I mean, it's fucking weed, bro. It's weed. Nobody's ever died from smoking too much weed directly, right? No one's ever overdosed on weed. Yeah, maybe you get into a car accident, a really slow one, right? And I'm sure there's people that have died, done stupid things, getting too high, right? Edibles or just smoke too much. Yeah, okay. But you can't take too much and end up in a hospital foaming at the mouth while people are trying to break your chest open and hit you with 3 vials of fucking adrenaline, blue adrenaline, right? Kickstart my heart, Nicky Six. That's what happened to that motherfucker doing heroin. You know, and again, I think it's his right to do that. I do. I think it's his absolute right to do that. I think anybody and everybody should be allowed to do that shit. So smoke your weed, goddammit. Smoke your weed. Have a great time doing it. 420 is a day to indulge for some of you. But realistically, we don't stop. We don't stop. Just chief, and who gives a fuck? If 420 is your day a year, if you're an older person or a person who stopped smoking weed, but you hold the 420 flag close to your heart, then fuck it. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. In other news, very exciting. Someone I speak about on the podcast very often because I am amazed at his ability to give only so much of himself and then disappear is Kendrick Lamar. He's dropping his new album. What's the name of this album? Give me 1 second. The name is just interesting, right? Kendrick. Hey, you suck. Kendrick Lamar. And I love the way he just, like, his Instagram has nothing on it. It just has a little file. His Instagram has fucking nothing. Doesn't tell us anything about anything. He put this message up, right? It looks like a fucking, I don't know, a memo. And it says, Los Angeles, California, April 18th, 2022. The following statement was released today by Oklahoma through his company, PP Lang, at 11 a.m. Pacific Time in Los Angeles, California. Album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Release date, 5/13/2022. That just adds to Kendrick Lamar's allure. It adds to his mystique is an even better word, right? It's kind of like a mysterious, he's like, here you go. He's like this fucking Zodiac killer. Here's a little note. Good luck. Good luck trying to find me. Here's my note. You'll see me on May 15th, 13th. You'll see me on May 13th. You're going to see what I've been working on. And then that's it. You guys can judge me based on that, and I'm gone. Maybe, right? Who knows? Maybe he goes on a tour after this. Maybe he does something else. But Kendrick is literally, I mean, he's gotten to this level. I think he's above J. Cole when it comes to the anticipation that people get. I saw somewhere that J. Cole's retired. I don't know how true that is. I know he's getting close. I know he's mentioned that before. But Kendrick Lamar has literally, I've said this and I'll say it time again, he has found out a way in a world of absolute access. Everyone has absolute 150-degree access. I don't know why I said that. 360-degree access to anyone's life, right? Anyone's life, especially a famous person. Their job is to stay fucking relevant. Their job is supposed to be that they keep chasing that carrot. They're the rabbit on the fucking wheel, and there's a carrot in front of them, and they're supposed to keep chasing it. That's their fucking thing. They're supposed to just keep chasing it. Keep going, keep going. The next big thing, the next gimmick. We're doing this for money. We're doing that. And it is so interesting that Kendrick Lamar does none of that. Who else? There's actors, right? There's some actors who are able to go out there. I'm thinking of like Tom Hardy, Leonardo DiCaprio. Some of these guys are able to just do their art, do their thing, and then whatever else they do, it seems like has nothing to do with what got them on the map, what is making people rave over them. Leonardo DiCaprio's Instagram is all about environment stuff, right? Environmental preservation and climate change and all this stuff. That's what his Instagram has on there. He doesn't need to, take pictures of him doing pull-ups, right? Or by the beach drinking a fucking mimosa with some crazy supermodel that he doesn't need to do any of that. He doesn't need to because his shit speaks for himself. And it is so rare in a time like this where you can disappear. You can legitimately disappear from people. You just unplug. You are not connected to anything besides your art. The only time people see you is when you're working on what got you to this game. And what's super interesting about a guy like Kendrick Lamar is he's at the point right now where he doesn't need to sell anything. Bill Hicks has a great quote where he talks about artists that sell things. We sell Pepsi Cola products. It's like sucking Satan's dick, right? And he says any artist that sells a product is forever relinquished from the art, from the artistic community. Anybody that does that shit, and Kendrick Lamar doesn't need to do that. He doesn't need to do that at all. He himself has found a way to let his talent speak for himself. And it is even more impressive because of we are in a time where people are getting famous for nothing, close to nothing, right? People are staying relevant by doing nonsense things, making, you got comedians out there who are doing videos reviewing sandwiches, right? You've got musicians out there that are doing unboxing reviews, because that's a way to get people, hey, my page is so poppin'. Look at all the shit that I eat and all the stuff that I talk about and by the way, I have a mixtape out. It shouldn't be that. It should be, hey, I have a mixtape out. That's it. In an idealistic world, right? In my mind. That's it. Here's my art. Let it speak for me. But now we live in a place where everything is very artificial. I guess that's the best way to put it. But when you got a guy like Kendrick who is coming out, people know that this album is probably going to be pretty motherfucking good. Right? People know they are waiting with bated breath. People are biting their nails waiting for May 13th. I know I'm going to tune in. I know for sure I'm going to tune in. And I am so out of the music loop. I listen to old shit now. I've taken a bit of a hiatus on hip hop because I've just kind of, I don't know. I don't have a real answer to that. But I have been branching out to new styles of music, I don't know about new styles, but bands, right? Different artists. That's a good way to put it. I'm on this Greta Van Fleet kick right now, Oasis. I'm trying to listen to a lot of the Led Zeppelin stuff, which again isn't new to me, but I haven't sat down and said, hey, let's listen to the Led Zeppelin fucking catalog, But I'm gonna tune in. I wanna hear this album. Definitely. And I think that is exactly. I think music is a great measure of togetherness. Right? Think about being at a concert, whatever concert, your favorite concert you've ever been to, or maybe you haven't gotten to see your favorite musician. But music, if you just think about the most iconic bands at the most iconic performances and this whole thing, the entire audience, thousands of people, monstrous stadiums full, screaming the words to your song, screaming the words to your music, bumping and moving and having a good motherfucking time. Thousands of people, a monstrous sample size of people just are fully engulfed in something that you created, you and your team created, right? It's different than sports, because sport, again, has over time been seen as a measure of camaraderie and togetherness and humanity. And that may be true. But in my mind, I think the best measure of it is music, because there's an actual tangible thing that happens, right? Whereas you're watching a sports game, yeah, you guys might all be rooting for the same team, and you're hoping that they put on a good performance and they win. But see, you're attached to that. Even if they lose, most people have a good time at sporting events, because people get hammered, they tailgate, they whatever. The sport is pretty much like the secondhand thing. Oh, there's a game on. Haha, get me another beer. Whereas the music, you go to a concert, even if you go to a festival, there's artists that you want to see, because you know their music at one point got you out of your motherfucking seat. You learned the lyrics to their songs because of how fucking good it was. And we're going to see what this album does. We're going to see where Kendrick's head is at. We're going to see if he's going to be combative or he's going to be welcoming, or if there's a sense of togetherness. It could be none of those things. It could be a mix of those things. That's what's so fucking interesting. That's what's so interesting about music, is that I've said this before, it's a language that we all understand, but very few of us speak. And Kendrick is godlike with this shit, son. He is godlike. People are waiting with bated breath. Now, there's somebody out there that is doing the exact opposite. There is somebody out there right now that is taking complete advantage of his position, of the culture that he has brewed, and he is going to make a movie, and it's going to be a stoner movie. It's going to be like a rom-com stoner movie, and the actor, the main character, is going to be none other than Machine Gun Kelly. Machine Gun Kelly, the guy who brought the punk aspect to hip-hop, right? The white guy from Cleveland with a bunch of tattoos. He's got a black daughter, right? He's supposed to be hood, but at the same time, he's very punk, because he is a white guy with a pointy nose. He's tall. Seems to have no rhythm, right? He doesn't look like he has a lot of rhythm. But he brought that punk aspect, right? The hair, the jumping in the crowd, doing all kinds of shit. Fuck the establishment. Fuck everybody. That's his thing, right? Fuck everybody. Nothing says fuck the establishment like making a generic stoner rom-com movie starring your girlfriend, who in that realm of acting is far more successful than you ever were, and probably will ever be, right? Realistically. Because even his music right now, nobody cares about. I don't even think it's rap anymore, but nobody really cares about his music. He's most famous right now off of his relationship. That's what he's most famous off of right now. Doesn't mean that he didn't have good music. I love Lace Up. Has fucking DMX on there, right? I love Lace Up, some of those other songs. Some of those songs I used to listen to when I was a miserable fucking high schooler, right? They'd make me feel even worse, which is what I was looking for. Right, so I have some affinity toward MGK. I don't want you guys to think that I absolutely think he's a sellout, but I mean, you came into the game one way, and yes, we all should evolve. We all should rethink and reevaluate different goals and different things that we want in this life. But it's just funny to me that at the same time, and ironic, that at the same time, a guy in your field that is looked at as one of the greats, who's still in his prime, by the way, still has plenty of time to make music, and either enhance that that fact or enhance that notion or take away from it, right? This could be a shitty album. I don't see it happening. But a guy that never really broke away from his morals. He stayed true to himself. He let his artistry speak for himself. He built a culture that is based in the fundamentals of hip-hop being a real thing, a real tangible exhibit or exhibition of how well someone, how popular a song can be while still being culturally relevant, but having the skills to be an artist. And MGK was the same way, man. He came into the game, into a predominantly black-driven industry, right? There's nothing wrong with that fucking statement. Eminem had to deal with the same thing, and this guy was able to carve out a lane for himself. He's the guy, the anti-establishment, punk rock, fucking white kid. He plays the guitar sometimes, and I think that's mostly what he does now. And he's kind of just going back on it and saying, it's called Good Morning, right? Good Morning, but like mourning like the death of somebody, which I guess it's supposed to be, it's a very generic plot line, right? This guy's possibly going to break up with the love of his life, but on the other end of that, he might have some crazy opportunity that he needs to decide between his dreams and the woman that he loves. Okay, yeah. Cool. And it's going to be a stoner comedy, so it's easy, right? It's very easy. And I've never been a fan of rappers going ahead and doing movies. Never been a huge fan of that. Very rarely does it work. Sometimes it does, but rarely, right? Rarely it works. And especially one like this. Like, this is just, it's too easy, right? And they'll make money off it, but it's too easy. It's just a piece of art, because I guess we can call it that, a piece of art that is just going to be filed under generic money grab, sounds like fun project to the actors and the people involved, but it's really just a money grab, right? It's really just extending MGK's reach. It's just like T.I. trying to be a comedian. Like, that is arguably stupider. That's arguably stupider, right? Like, are you really going to try to be a comedian? Are you really going to double down and do the shitty sets at the shitty spots? Are you willing to get heckled by a drunk guy on a Tuesday night in the back of a fucking pizzeria while you're up there trying to do a joke that you've been working on for months? Right? Is that really what you're... Probably not. Probably not. And people will come out to see you because you're T.I., but when they realize that your shit's not funny, then, you're not there to last. You're not built to last. You're not. Just like this movie. MGK is going to do this movie, and I would be surprised if you ever see him in a picture ever again. I mean, I would be genuinely surprised if we ever got to see MGK in a movie. I can only imagine the acting that's going to happen in that fucking movie. Pete Davidson's in it. I mean, it's going to be probably pretty fucking ridiculous. But I just thought that it was funny that was announced around the same time as Kendrick Lamar's long-awaited fucking album and return to hip-hop. Now we got MGK's debut on the silver screen, baby. I don't know. Maybe it'll be good. Make me eat my words, MGK. Maybe it'll be a parallel universe where MGK's rom-com stoner movie will do better numbers than Kendrick Lamar's long-awaited hip-hop album and return to hip-hop. We'll see. If I was a betting man, I would say no to that. But anyway, guys, listen. It is Thursday, the 21st. This is short notice to you guys, but Friday, the 22nd, I will be at Stand Up New York. There's a chance I'll be there the week after. We'll see. But definitely, April 22nd, I'm going to be at Stand Up New York. I got 2 more dates. I'm going to be at Stevie D's Tavern or bar. I don't know what the fuck. I think it's Tavern. Stevie D's in East Providence. I'm going to be there May 5th, so Cinco de Mayo. Go ahead. I don't know if they do Mexican shit, so go ahead and get that all out of your system. Come in with your sombrero and your tequila buzz, and we'll have some fun. That is a free show, I'm pretty sure. I don't think there's a cover to that. I'll double check on that for you. And then May 22nd, which is a Sunday, I'm going to be at the Comedy Connection. Last time I was at the Comedy Connection, I had a great fucking time. We had a great show, a monstrous fucking crowd, and a very fun crowd as well, because as you know, I like to say fucked up shit on stage. It's my favorite thing. One of my favorite things is when I'm telling a joke and I hear someone in the crowd go, Jesus. I love that. Someone goes, Jesus, my God. I love that shit. No cover. No cover for Stevie D's Riverside Tavern. That's May 5th. And then again, that's at 8 p.m. And then again on Sunday, May 22nd, Comedy Connection, 7:30 p.m., Providence, motherfucking Rhode Island. And that's it. Maybe we got some other stuff on the horizon. Once I find out about... I submitted a tape to get on something that would be a lot of fun. I'm going to keep it under wraps until I find out whether or not I've been on it. I'm going to find out by June 1st. At least that's what they say. So stay tuned for that shit. And that's it, gang. Have a great rest of your week. I'm going to talk to y'all on Monday. I'm actually going to be in D.C. from Monday to Wednesday, or Monday to Thursday. But I'm definitely going to try and get these episodes up for you. So thank you, motherfuckers. Peace. Hey, I'm back to reiterate all the stuff that I said at the top of the show. Follow and subscribe. Bye-bye.